Welcome to my Essential Philosophy lectures. Today we are continuing to discuss on Spinoza's philosophy in particular and his notion of substance. The Cartesian notion of substance, as we know, appealing though it was on logical, scientific and metaphysical grounds, gave rise to problems that steadily increased in significance as their depth was perceived. What is actually the relation between substance construed as individual and substance construed as matter or stuff or object? How many substances do we know, do we encounter, and how many substances are there in the world? How, if at all, can we explain their real interaction? If they can sustain themselves in their existence, why do we need an explanation of their origin? We may ask ourselves. Descartes and the Cartesians gave many answers to those questions, but none of them felt to be satisfactory. Spinoza, on the other hand, was very quick to observe that the concept of substance is nevertheless the cornerstone of Cartesian metaphysics. Hence, each of those questions has to be answered univocally and consistently and solidly if the metaphysical structure is to stand up to philosophical examination. If metaphysics collapses, then Spinoza believed, and in this he was at one with all rationalist thinkers, so does the possibility of science. In the Principles, Descartes had touched on the problems posed by the concept of substance and made a distinction between the principal attribute of a substance, the attribute which constitutes its nature, as extension is the nature of physical things and thought the nature of mind, and its modifications or modes, the properties in respect of which it can change without ceasing to be what it is. He also noted an ambiguity in the term substance, which might be used in a wide sense and spectrum to denote any individual object, or in a restricted sense to refer to that which depends upon nothing outside itself for its existence. In this restricted sense, he argued, only God is a substance. Now, it is this restricted idea of substance that provides the cornerstone of Spinoza's metaphysics. A substance, he writes, is in itself and conceived through itself, or is that the conception of which does not depend upon the conception of another thing from which it must be formed. A substance must be intelligible apart from all relations with other things. Hence, a substance cannot enter into relations and in particular can be neither the cause nor the effect of anything that stands outside itself. To the extent that a thing is caused, it has to be explained in terms of and therefore conceived through other things. A substance, therefore, cannot be produced by anything else. It is its own cause, causa sui, which means, according to Spinoza's definition, that its essence involves its existence. Spinoza, evidently influenced greatly by Descartes, distinguishes the attributes of a substance from its modes. An attribute is that which the intellect perceives as constituting the essence of a substance, whereas a mode is that which is in something else through which it must be conceived. The word in here creates pretty much difficulties, but here is an analogy. For example, a group of people join to form a club which then does things. owns things, organizes things. When I say that the club bought a house, I really mean that the members of the club did various things with a specific result. But none of the members bought a house. Hence, it looks as though the club is an independent entity existing over, and we may say above its members, the people who compose it. De facto, however, it is entirely dependent for its existence and nature on the activities of its members. The club is in the members in Spinoza's way of thinking. And when X is in Y, X can be understood fully only through Y. Another way to put the point is Y is prior to X, since we cannot understand X without a prior conception of Y, and in this sense a substance is prior in nature to its modes. The first part of the Ethics is devoted to God, defined as a substance consisting of infinite attributes, each one of which expresses an eternal and infinite essence. Spinoza here follows pretty faithfully Descartes in giving a version of the ontological argument. However, the proof has an interesting twist to it. Spinoza believes that all substances exist necessarily, since it belongs to the nature of substance to exist. But he also argues that there cannot be two or more substances with the same nature or attribute. In other words, substances cannot share attributes. And since God possesses all the attributes, therefore there can be no other substances besides God. Everything that exists is in God. God as such has infinite attributes. Extension is an attribute, since we perceive it as constituting the essence of the corporeal world, and there is nothing more basic than extension to which the explanation of corporeal things could be referred. We have full, or as Spinoza puts it, adequatio, knowledge of the nature of extension through the science of geometry, and the existence of this systematic science of necessary truth is further proof that the idea of extension delivers God's essential nature to our own intellect.